Hello humans and extraterrestrials. So today, I'm going to be talking to you about Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. This is, I think, maybe my best book of the year so far. It was absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to be doing a book talk today because I really enjoyed when I was talking about Good Omens. I thought that was really fun to do, and I just really liked all that. So here we are to talk about Radio Silence. So where to start? There's so much to start. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to talk about was how much Alice Oseman makes every character super, and I don't know if this is the case for any other books or if it's truly just this one, but either way, this was fantastic. That she just makes every character so unique and different and interesting, but also just so gosh darn relatable. Like, honestly, like these characters were all very, I guess, one side or the other on the spectrum of like school stuff. Like they were either very oh, I need to get good grades and go to uni, or I don't think academia is for me, kind of was the line. It seemed like in terms of what they'd had in terms of expectations on themselves. I'm kind of, I mean, I want to do uni, but I'm not like I need to have all the A's, minus the ones I do need for uni. Like, it's not, I'm definitely nowhere near Daniel or Francis in this book. But I'm also not Rain, because I care about my education. I enjoy my education. I'm kind of more on the side of like, I enjoy education as a whole. I think it's a good idea. I think our education system needs work, of course, but like it was so interesting how much I related to a lot of the characters in these books, even though we have, minus like fandomy stuff, not very much in common really. Because I'm like pretty kind of not standard, but like pretty middle line in terms of my education, whereas these people were very much two extremes, and it's just really interesting how she manages to, I guess it's just because she just writes, I'm sorry, we need to do autofocus, needs, how interesting it is that she manages to do that without, like, it's just so well written. I love her writing style. It's very, I don't know, plain spoken. Like, it's very teen thoughts. It's not, because obviously it's YA about a 17-year-old, 16-year-old girl, and it's so like, it's written like that, but not in a way that's really cringy or bad. Which leads me on to my next point, which is the way that she handles the internet and fandom and all that. She just did it so well, and as far as I know, and this, I could be spreading misinformation, I could be completely wrong here, was that she kind of has a YouTube channel, and Alice Oseman has a YouTube channel and was on Tumblr and was in fandom, so she kind of gets it, which, if that's the case, oh my goodness, she's done such a good goddamn job, and if not, holy crap, she did a brilliant job, considering she didn't know. But this was just handled so well. So a lot of the time when you read books in relation to fandom and relating to, like, you know, oh, there's this nerdy girl and she really likes this TV show and talks about it on Tumblr all the time or whatever, often it's kind of, it just doesn't quite hit the mark, you know? Like, but with this one, this just did it so well, and especially the toxicity in fandom, because obviously a big chunk of this book was about them finding out about who Aled was and about who Karis was, or not Karis, who Rains was. No, Francis, who Francis was, and it's so interesting how well she explained all the toxicity that can kind of build up and then completely fall back down in fandom without it feeling forced or crazy. Like, she did just such a good job with that as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I just thought she handled that really well. My next point was the friendship between Aled and Francis in this book. God, I read this recently. I read this literally a few weeks ago during this whole lockdown situation. So I've not been allowed to see my friends because, you know, that's, you know, against the rules. Let's not all hand out this, you know, this disease to people. so it just made me miss my friends so much, and I think she did such a good job of getting like the energy of like teen friends that feel like they'll last forever. Like she just did such a good job of being like, hey, this is what this feels like. Do you want to know how you feel? Here it is in a book. Like, it really made me miss people. It made me, like, it brought like 3 or 4 specific people I know to mind that I'm close friends with, that I'm like, I miss you, man. Like, that's what it did. And I think that's phenomenal that she could do that, because obviously sometimes you read a book and you're like, oh, that reminds me of insert person here, but like, she just did such a good job of having like hanging out as teens and just having fun and enjoying stuff vibes, and it made me miss my friends. So she did a good job with that. It was like the just the scenes in the field, minus them being like absolutely crazy, really just felt like you were hanging out with friends and having a drink. Like, that's what it felt like. And there was a scene where she was with, where she talked to Aled and was like, Frances talked to Aled and was like, hey, can you just help me with my maths homework? And they just helped each other with their maths homework, like in the middle of the night. And it's just like, I felt that really just felt like it just felt like a thing that would happen. It was just really well, it was just great how well that was portrayed. My next point was the amount of gay rep in this book was phenomenal. The amount of casual characters, like Daniel and Aled, their relationship progressing didn't seem unnatural, as many writers would make it feel like, oh, they're just doing this so they're gays, and she was just a casual bisexual, and that was literally it. Like, there was like, obviously the whole plot point related to Karis was about it, but it wasn't like a thing, you know, like it wasn't a coming out story, but there were a lot of gay characters in it, and I really appreciated that. Like, that's just such a nice thing to see, just having a main cast that are just like that, and that's it, and there's no like, oh my god, like, there was a few lines that made me laugh about it, but they were in like a, yeah, I felt that way, not in like a, oh, for God's sake, why is this so, like, there was a line from Daniel, I think, I honestly can't bother to find it, after Alice who talked about him about being Demi, and it was like, I thought wouldn't like me, or you judge me or whatever, and Daniel was just like, dude, I'm as gay as they come, why would I judge you? And I'm just like, yeah, I get that. That was such a thing, that's a thing I would say. Like, I really, yeah, I get it. And it was just so nice to have that also casual and just out there, and that was it. There was no like, oh my god, like, it was like them learning about Aled and Daniel's relationship wasn't like, oh my god, he likes men. It was like, oh, it all makes sense. You know, it wasn't, and them being together wasn't about the gay thing. It was about just the relationship thing and how it changed the plot in terms of who February was, and like, it wasn't about that, which is phenomenal. Well, obviously that's like it's not a high standard that I'm putting it to, but it was just so nice to read about and just have them be there without being like, hi, I'm the token gay character, because so fed up with it. My next point was that this book just gave me so many feelings. This book made me feel things, man. The lack of communication between Aled and Frances when he was away at uni, oh my goodness gracious, that completely, I was so worried for him, because I didn't know how this book ended. I knew Aled and Frances were friends. That was literally like the only plot point I knew based on Paperback Dreams ramblings. That was literally it. Like, I didn't know that Aled and Karis were twins. I didn't know anything about it. But them being put apart and like not being able to hear from him at all, like not having a POV of him and only hearing the radio only hearing Universe City was not only a really intelligent way to put things through, it also makes it really fun to go through again and be like, oh, that's what that means after the fact, you know? Like, it's such an interesting concept, and it made me feel things, because I would read it and I'm like, okay, then does that mean what I think it means? Or like, it was such an interesting thing, but it also made me emotional, because I was like, wait, Is he okay? Is something happening? Is he gonna do anything bad? And I just, man made me feel things. Yeah, it was that, and like Rain coming onto her, onto be like a real friend, and with Francis was a thing. This is a tangent, I apologize, but I was going to talk about this before, but I completely forgot, was that Rain, that line that Francis had about being like, oh, I can't believe I just assumed that she was a fake friend like everyone else. Yeah, I felt that's such like a teen, like, you feel isolated thing of like, of course they're all fake, like you can't, like, assuming in not assuming, like making generalizations in such a sweeping way about something like that is such like a, like, I've done that, I've been there, most people have usually, like, it's such like a interesting thing to see that written down, because that side of like making generalizations and all that sort of stuff in your head literally never talked about. I never hear it talked about or written about or anything, and it was so nice to be like, yeah, that's not a thing I knew that I needed to hear, but yeah, I'm glad that I'm not the only one. Like, but yeah, and my last positive point, I do have a little critique, but it's very small because I gave this book 5 stars and thought it was phenomenal. But anyway, my next point is that this goddamn book, I could not put it down. I picked this up on a whim after I was reading something, and I was like, I need to read, but I don't want to read this, and I don't want to read this, and I started this, and I was like, oh, I'll just read the first few chapters, and then before I knew it, I was 100 pages in, and it was like 1 a.m, and I'm like, no, I need to put it down. And then I left it, and then the next day I just woke up and just read it page to page till the end, because this book, really, I just wanted to know what was going on. Like, it's one of those books that it's obviously there's no like crazy fantastical or mystical or like thriller story. It's nothing like, you know, like there was no like the internet stuff was super interesting, but it wasn't like, oh my god, the mystery, what's gonna like that's not what this book was about. That wasn't the point of this book at all. That was a plot point, but it wasn't the point of this book at all. But even still, I'm talking very fast. Even still, I still kept turning pages and being like, I want to know what happens with them, and I want to know what happens with Karis and Rain and what's going on, and like, it was real page turner, man. Like, it truly just, I just needed to keep going, and I finished it in 2 days, which for me is a lot, especially considering it's a 400 and something page book. 400 and how many pages? 400 and, it should tell me, why are there not page numbers? 403 pages. That's a lot for me to read in 2 days. Like, it just kept going and going and going, and I just wanted to know what happened. Now, if you don't want to hear my critiques of this, you can end this video now and just go with my perfect happy opinion about this book. But I have a few things, and they're not big things, like, it's stuff that could be resolved in like spin-offs or whatever. And it was mostly just that I wanted to see more of people. So for example, Rain, as much as I loved having Rain in this book, I wish I would have seen more of her. I think she has such potential to be an awesome character and really, like, I don't know if inspire is the right word, but like make people feel seen. I think she made a lot of people that read this book feel seen. And it truly just, it made me very happy to see that. And it was just like, I wish I would seen more of her and more of her sort of develop, and like, I would love to have like a little sort of like, even like a little novella offside thing. I mean, you don't have to, obviously, like, but I'd rather that than Alice Oseman JK rolling her way through this plot, you know, like, I don't want it just to be through tweets or whatever. We want more stuff, we want more canon stuff that's actually been written and published, you know. And along with Rain, I want to see more of Karis. Karis is such an awesome character. As soon as I started reading her, I'm like, you're living my dream. How are you doing? Like, I want to do theatre more than anything in the world. Like, that is my dream job. English is also fantastic, and I'm also excited to do that. But if theatre was viable, I'd be doing that, you know? But, like, this, I saw her and I was like, you, love you, I am with you, you are what I want to do. And I would love to see more of her, or more of her and Rain even just sort of going off to this sort of, like at the end where, let me find it, at the end where she's talking, when Rain and Karis are talking, and Karis is like, oh, I can tell you more about these non-traditional, like, education, people that aren't fans of academics, but we can show you more routes and educate you on that. And I just want to know where that went, you know? Like, it's kind of like, and this is very different because this is a standalone book and not a, like, many trilogy series, but it's a bit like, for me, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, that's fine, the Red Scrolls series from Shadowhunters, where it's like, it's a little thing on the side that is, people read it and they love it, but it doesn't really, like, if it's not there, it's not a mandatory thing, you know? Like, if you don't read Red Scrolls, and if you're a fan of the Shadowhunter series, you don't miss, like, a lot, as far as I know, because it happens in the book that Alec isn't there in the Mortal Instruments, but it doesn't, you don't have to. But yeah, I just think a little something like that would be phenomenal, even if it was like a, I don't know, like a little 50-page, like, sort of, here's what happens, and that was it. That would be fantastic. I would love that more than anything in the world, because I love this universe so much. And I don't know if it's because I thought if this book was a little bit longer, it wouldn't have suffered, I think, as well. But I think part of it is just that I want to see more of this universe and these characters so much. And I also know that all of Alice Oseman's books are set in the same universe, which means that if I'm right, in Solitaire, well, not in Solitaire because that's her debut novel, but in other books, there's little snippets towards other characters from other stories and stuff. And I'm just so excited, so I'm going to read all the other books just so I can get every other glimpse of the stuff from Radio Silence, because Radio Silence is absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, there's my little book talk about Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. Even my critiques weren't super evil. So if you can tell, I really like this book. So that's all I have to say. Talk to me in the comments about this book, because I thought it was wonderful and I'd love to hear your thoughts. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, you know what to do. Please remember to drink your water, eat your vegetables, and peace out, I guess. Bye guys.